Ever since I started dabbling in the IWC, one of the biggest arguments I've ever seen made against AEW, specifically since all the big name signings, was that the company didn't give the homegrown talent a fair shot. That the established names and the new signings would get all the favorable booking decisions, and that homegrown talents were getting buried. Now, I've already made an entire video on my feelings on this subject, so I won't bore you with the details, but it's my belief that in the long term, the homegrown talent will benefit with the extra time afforded to them to develop, while the already established names carry the main event scene. It was always a matter of time and patience, and no one exemplifies this more than the Acclaimed. I guess it's a bit easier to understand considering the fact that the tag team division hasn't been as saturated with new faces as the singles division has been, but the idea is still the same nonetheless. Almost 2 years ago, the Acclaimed debuted in AEW, and almost 2 years ago, they had a title shot against the Young Bucks. The first time they debuted on Dynamite, I did not like the Acclaimed, but there was a pretty good reason for it, and it was honestly down to the fact that Max Caster's rap wasn't even synced at all with the beat. It's clear looking back that there were either sound issues through his headphones or that he was extremely nervous. I admit I made a very early judgment call, but ever since their second match, I was on board with the Acclaim. I guess that would be their second Dynamite match, because I don't watch Dark. And yes, I do take a bit of pride in the fact that early on, I believed in this tag team and saw championship potential in them. And this is not the, oh, I knew of them before they were cool kind of moment, but it always feels good when you can identify talent early on in their careers. And the reason why I rated them so highly is that in the modern era of professional wrestling, one of the most important elements to a wrestler is if you have a chant, a song, or a signature line that the crowd can mimic along with you. For better or for worse, wrestling fans love nothing more than something to chant along to, and if you don't have that, it becomes much more difficult to get the crowd cheering for you. So yes, early on, I saw that potential from one simple gimmick, and I likened Caster and Bowens to Enzo and Big Cass from the NXT days. Neither team were the most gifted technical wrestlers, but both teams engaged the crowd more than anyone else on the show in any division. Despite being solid enough in the ring, the major contribution they have when they are in the ring is that the crowd is absolutely boiling hot for them. And at the end of the day, does anything matter more than that? I'm not the biggest fan of Danhausen or Orange Cassidy, but the crowd pops for them. Can you really argue with that? The Acclaimed managed to get it right when it came to their gimmick and fan engagement. The rapping was a clear avenue to viral content. If Caster is nuclear enough on the mic, there's potential for it to blow up on social media, getting more eyes on not only the company, but the team. The yos don't hurt either, because whenever Caster says yo, the crowd goes yo. Bowens adding the city name and the Acclaimed has arrived is a great touch to get the crowd involved too. And they had all of these weapons as a building block, however, they did not reach the level they are at with this alone. The most important thing that happened to the Acclaimed is teaming up with the Gunn Club and the subsequent addition of Billy Gunn to this tag team. I have no idea how it happened. If you told anyone involved a year ago that this is how the tag team was going to evolve, I think everyone involved would laugh at you. It's the most organically built thing on the current roster as far as I can tell. I don't know if it was ever the plan to split Billy Gunn from his own sons in favor of two random men he barely knew, but that was the catalyst to engineer a meteoric rise in popularity in the form of the single most chanted thing in AEW right now, Scissor Me Daddy. And while I'm at it, I'm not sure that there was ever a plan to have a rematch for the AEW tag team titles at Grand Slam after Swerve in Our Glory defended the belts at All Out. Nothing about this seems planned, but that doesn't mean it's not impressive booking either. Being able to adapt on the fly is very important, and giving the crowd what they want on this occasion specifically was the right decision. Although, don't get me wrong, the devil on my shoulder would have loved to have seen how big of a heel reaction Swerve and Lee would have received if they had won again. The main point here is that the Acclaimed were allowed to grow organically and naturally as performers, allowing established teams to carry the torch and carry the division while the Acclaimed built themselves up. Could AEW have fired the gun early? Yes. The Acclaimed have probably been ready for a tag team title for half a year now, but taking that extra time has taken them to another level that they otherwise would not have reached. This same mentality is what I talked about in my video, and it is the mentality that I applied to the likes of Jungle Boy, Darby Allin, Wheeler Utah, Wardlow, Daniel Garcia, Ricky Starks, or Powerhouse Hobbs. Funnily enough, it's even the mentality I had for some of the ex-WWE guys like Andrade, Miro, or Malachi, that there will be a right time for them to take the torch and run with it. And maybe it won't work out for all of those names, but that's the business. You know who else I had this thought process with? MJF. I was on board with MJF making a push for the title ever since he lost his opportunity against Jon Moxley, when he lost to Jericho, when he lost to Punk, when he lost to Wardlow. The whole time I thought to myself, why does this guy not have the world title around his waist? But guess what? Waiting was the right play. The ex-WWE guys came in, Adam Cole, Bryan Danielson, and CM Punk, and initially, did they take those main event spots in the short term? Yes, they did. CM Punk even got the world title. But in the end, who benefited the most from being put on the back burner and having an extra year to flesh out his character and get the crowd even more invested in them? MJF, who seems primed and ready now to take the world title from three-time champion and arguably the best professional wrestler in the world right now, Jon Moxley, a crowning achievement that I'm sure was not the original plan, but one that nonetheless completes MJF's arc into a genuine and certified top guy in AEW. Another homegrown talent who is about to become a world champion in AEW. It's not going to happen with everybody. There's naturally going to be people that don't make it, that don't get a world title, that don't become the major player in their division, because it's natural selection at the end of the day. Or I guess, no, this is artificial selection actually. But if MJF is able to become world champion, that'll make every single champion in the company a homegrown talent. MJF, the Acclaimed, Wardlow, I guess Pac is an ex-WWE guy, but he's been with AEW since day one, and I guess the Lucha Bros aren't AEW homegrown, but again, they're not ex-WWE. I guess you can't really make that argument with Toni Storm, but she's the interim women's champion, and Jade Cargill is as homegrown as they come. So at the end of the day, I still don't understand why anybody makes the ex-WWE argument. It's, at this stage, I think very uneducated to make that comment. And if you do make that comment, if you do believe that ex-WWE guys are standing in the way of the AEW originals or the AEW homegrown, then you are blinded. The AEW homegrown talent is going to be in a much better position. Instead of being rushed, a guy like Darby Allin can now take his time to the World Championship, which I'm sure at some stage he will be. Even a Wardlow. I think Wardlow will be in the next 3 to 5 world champions. I think his name is going to be there. He may even be the next world champion after MJF. So at the end of the day, the time that these talents have been given is a positive, and the belief that Tony Khan has shown in them is evident. And the Acclaimed is only the latest in a long list and an ever-growing list of AEW homegrown talents that are succeeding in the company. Those are my thoughts wrapped up. I think it's pretty convincing, but I don't know. I think the proof is in the pudding at this stage. I don't know how anybody could argue against this, but if you want to argue against this, feel free to go in the comment section below and call me an idiot. While you're down there, leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it, because it does help the channel grow. I don't like when people ask for people to like their videos, but I'm still doing it because I don't know, you kind of need to, right? But that's it. I hope you guys did enjoy today's video. I hope you're happy, healthy. I hope life's treating you well, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay stunning, boys.